Osman I by Hannah Baron. The beginning of the Ottoman Empire. Osman I came from the Sultanate of Rome and followed many Seljuk practices, so it is important to go over the origination of this empire. The Seljuk Turks were a Turkish tribe who had success in the Middle East for 10 years, but then came to Anatolia to free the Mongols. They claimed a large amount of land in Anatolia after defeating the Byzantines that were in that region, which they then colonized. In 1081, the Seljuks renamed their state as the Sultanate of Rome and fractured into beyliks. Beyliks is the Turkish word for territory or faction. These beyliks were each their own small kingdom, and Osman I eventually ruled one of these beyliks. Osman I was born in 1258 in Sogut, which was a small civilization in northwestern Anatolia in the region of Bithynia. The name Osman can be translated into Othman, Uthman, or Atman, depending on the culture. It is important to note that there is very little information about Osman I because no written sources remain from the time he was in power. All of the history regarding Osman I comes from sources written 100 years or later after his death. Osman's father was Ertugrul, a chief of a tribe under the control of the Seljuks, and had obtained land in Bithynia from this tribe for his service to them. Osman I was named an Ukbey by his father, which translates to Marcher Lord. Ukbeys were similar to governors of the region they were assigned to at this time. Osman I formulated close relations with a prominent Sufi cleric, Idabali. A cleric was a priest or religious leader. Through these relations, Osman I met his wife, Malhun, who was Idabali's daughter. They got married while Osman was still very young. In 1280, Ertugrul died, and Osman I took command of the beylik. Osman I named 3 new Ukbeys as frontier commanders to take his place, and he strategically situated them around the territory to protect his people from nearby enemies. The Ukbeys were positioned towards the Byzantine Empire, specifically towards the cities of Nicomedia and Nicaea, and then in the north of the beylik towards the Black Sea. The assignment of frontier commanders was novel to the beylik, and these troops eventually became what is known as Akinci in the Ottoman Empire. Akinci were troops in the Ottoman Empire that obtained loot from enemies at the borders. Osman I also led his army to capture many small settlements surrounding his area of Bithynia early in his ruling. 2 of these settlements were Eskisehir and Yenisehir. Osman I had many successful military pursuits during his time as ruler. He became ruler in 1280, and then 20 years after becoming ruler, attempted his first siege of a large settlement, namely the city of Nicaea. Then he went on to fight in many other large and small battles until the time of his death. Through the small battles, he conquered much land, and through the larger battles, power. The other 2 largest battles Osman fought during his time as ruler were the Battle of Bathius and his siege of Prussia. Osman's attempted siege of Nicaea occurred in 1299. This attack occurred after Osman had threatened the remaining Byzantine settlements in the area to either convert to Islam or accept that they would be attacked. Nicaea was a difficult city to conquer because of its city wall and troops surrounding the political center. After 2 years of fighting, Osman successfully captured the city. His troops went on to bother many other Byzantine fortresses and travel the countryside, preventing peasants from farming. This prevention indirectly threatened larger Byzantine cities with famine. The Byzantines, or at least some of the Byzantines, were fearful of Osman after the capture of Nicaea, as evident by the offer given to Osman by the emperor of the Byzantines at the time, Palaeologus. In 1302, Palaeologus offered Osman I a political marriage to a princess of one of his political officials, a Khan. This offer was given in an attempt to improve relations between Osman's empire and the Byzantines, to ward off any other further attacks by Osman's troops. However, the Khan, the father of the arranged marriage who Osman was supposed to marry, died before the marriage was arranged. So then Osman rejected the offer and the Byzantines were forced to look to Serbia for help. Later that year, Osman attacked the Byzantines near the Sea of Marmara in a series of many raids, which came to be known as the Battle of Bathius. Many Byzantines witnessed the strength of Osman's army during the battle, causing some to retreat and others to convert to Islam and join the Ottomans. In the summer of 1302, a Byzantine army was sent to ward off Osman and his troops on the plain of Bathius. The Byzantines were easily defeated and forced to flee back to Nicomedia, marking the first large victory for Osman. This battle also allowed the Ottomans to gain control over essentially the entire Bithynia countryside, putting other Byzantine cities in striking distance. The Ottomans lived relatively peacefully for the next 6 years and did not mount any other attacks. However, in 1308, Osman decided it was time to capture the Bithynian capital and officially secure Bithynia for himself. Osman had fortresses built around the city of Prusa, the capital, which is modern-day Bursa, before the initial ambush. Prusa was the largest city Osman had ever attempted to siege and did not end up succeeding for over 10 years. Prusa was able to maintain a steady supply of resources from Constantinople and therefore held its ground for the decade. In 1321, the Ottomans prevailed and the last Prusa port was captured by Osman in what ended up being his last fight. In 1323, Osman I died of natural causes. At least, that is what is reported in the few sources from long after his death. So the cause cannot be completely known, but can only be assumed. Osman I had named his son Orhan as his successor, who took the throne upon his death. This was a controversial appointment because Orhan was not Osman's firstborn son. Nonetheless, Orhan was still very successful. Orhan went on to continue his father's legacy and conquer other areas of Bithynia, eventually even reaching the gates of Constantinople. Orhan also named Bursa the capital of Bithynia in 1337. Osman I's legacy lives on today mainly as the founder of the Ottoman Empire, but also as a leader who promoted Seljuk model of warfare and introduced Sufism to many people in the area. He set an exemplary example of how to successfully use Seljuk techniques in battle, and was given a military emblem by a Seljuk sultan for his work.